Welcome back, everyone. If you thought traveling through airports was stressful, get ready, because Trump's new 2025 policies are bringing major changes to airports across the United States. These changes are serious. Whether you travel all the time or just once a year, these new rules will affect everyone. Some people support them. Others are angry. But no matter what side you're on, one thing is clear: airport travel will never be the same. From everyday items suddenly being banned to strict new security rules, today we're going over the 15 things you can no longer do at U.S. airports under Trump's latest crackdown. And trust me, some of these changes will leave you frustrated, confused, and even angry. But before we get into the list, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you travel. And stick around until the end. I'll also share how you can speak out or push back against these controversial rules. Let's get started. Number 1. No more large electronics and carry-ons. Under Trump's new 2025 airport rules, you can no longer bring large electronics like laptops, tablets, or e-readers in your carry-on bag. If the device is larger than a smartphone, it must now be checked into your luggage. That means no more using your laptop or Kindle during the flight. So what's the reason? Security officials say that bigger electronics could hide dangerous items like explosives. They believe that by checking these devices, TSA can inspect them more thoroughly behind the scenes. But here's the problem. Millions of passengers, especially professionals, students, and freelancers, rely on their devices mid-flight. Now, they're forced to hand over expensive electronics to baggage handlers, risking damage, theft, or loss. What happens if your laptop gets crushed, stolen, or ends up on the wrong flight? It's a real risk, and there's not much you can do once it's out of your hands. Supporters say the rule boosts safety, pointing to past bombing attempts involving electronics. But critics argue it's an overreaction, one that punishes innocent travelers while doing little to stop real threats. Many are calling for smarter, targeted alternatives. Number 2. Ban on liquids over 2 ounces, even in checked luggage. You are no longer allowed to pack any liquid over 2 ounces, even in your checked luggage. Yes, you heard that right. That means your full-size shampoo, lotion, perfume, or even sealed bottles of wine or alcohol, all banned. Why this change? According to the administration, the goal is to close a dangerous loophole. They claim that liquid explosives could still be hidden in larger bottles inside checked luggage, where security screening is less visible. By forcing travelers to limit all liquids, officials believe the skies will be safer. But many travelers are angry and confused. Families with babies now struggle to bring enough formula. People with medical needs face new hurdles just to pack necessary items. And international tourists can no longer bring home full-size souvenirs unless they ship them at high cost. Critics are calling the rule security theater, measures that look tough but don't truly stop threats. Instead, they say this hurts ordinary travelers and adds stress and cost without real results. Supporters argue that in a world of unpredictable threats, it's better to be safe than sorry. But many believe the policy punishes the majority instead of targeting high-risk individuals. Number 3. Mandatory facial recognition for all passengers. Every passenger must now undergo facial recognition scans before boarding. The government argues this system will reduce boarding time, catch identity fraud, and increase national security by matching travelers with official databases in real time. But critics are raising serious concerns about privacy and data protection. Your face, your most personal biometric information, is scanned, recorded, and stored in a federal system. That means raising fears of misuse, hacking, or long-term surveillance. What if the data is hacked or shared with law enforcement or intelligence agencies without your consent? Some fear it could even be linked to your social media activity, where posts or private messages might one day influence whether you're allowed to fly. Critics see this as a step toward mass surveillance with little accountability. While it may help security, many believe it comes at a high cost of personal freedom and privacy. Number 4. TSA can demand access to your social media. Trump's 2025 airport policy now allows TSA and border agents now have the authority to demand access to your social media accounts during security screenings. If you refuse, could be denied boarding on your flight. Officials say the move is meant to help identify potential threats by reviewing posts, likes, and even private messages for suspicious behavior. But critics say this crosses a line. Civil liberties advocates argue it's a dangerous invasion of privacy. Imagine missing your flight because of a sarcastic meme or a political post from years ago. What if your account was hacked and someone else posted something controversial. Supporters argue it enhances national security and could help stop extremists before they act. However, opponents see it as another step toward a surveillance state, one that puts everyone's freedom of speech and personal data at risk. Number 5. Face coverings, including religious garments, are restricted. That means passengers may be asked to remove hoodies, masks, niqabs, or any clothing that obscures the face unless they have a verified medical exemption. The government says the change is necessary to ensure security cameras, and facial recognition systems can clearly identify travelers. However, this move has sparked major backlash from civil rights groups and religious communities. Critics say the rule unfairly targets Muslim women, cancer patients, and others who cover their faces for deeply personal, religious, or medical reasons. Should someone be forced to choose between their beliefs and boarding a flight? Supporters of the policy say it's about preventing criminals from hiding their identity, but opponents call it a clear case of racial and religious profiling. They warn it may discourage certain groups from flying altogether. The ban also affects fast-track travelers who now face longer delays. To many, this policy feels like another step toward restricting personal freedom in the name of safety. Number 6. Fast-track security programs are eliminated. Fast-track programs like TSA PreCheck and Global Entry have been completely eliminated. The government claims these programs created weak spots in airport security by letting certain travelers bypass full checks. Now everyone, regardless of age or travel history, must undergo the same rigorous process. That includes full pat-downs, bag inspections, and longer wait times. Even families with young children or elderly passengers are no longer given special consideration. Business travelers who often paid extra for expedited screening are particularly upset, seeing this as a punishment for frequent flying. Supporters of the policy argue that it creates a more secure and fair system by treating all travelers equally. However, critics warn it will lead to major delays, overcrowded lines, and a negative impact on tourism. They believe the policy sacrifices efficiency without guaranteeing better safety, while frustrating millions of travelers who used fast-track screening for speed and convenience. Number 7. Free airport Wi-Fi has been shut off. In 2025, free Wi-Fi in all U.S. airports has been officially shut down. The government argues that open networks are breeding grounds for cyber criminals, allowing hackers or even foreign intelligence to intercept sensitive data. Authorities claim this move is necessary to protect travelers from cyber threats and prevent digital spying. However, many travelers are frustrated. Without Wi-Fi, passengers can't easily access flight updates, book ride shares, or stay connected during long delays. Business travelers can't work during layovers, and tourists, especially international ones, are hit with steep roaming charges just to stay online. Supporters defend the decision, saying it's about national security. They believe public networks are too risky in an age of digital warfare. But critics call it overkill and say it hurts convenience more than it helps safety. Some argue that instead of banning Wi-Fi altogether, airports should invest in secure, password-protected connections rather than eliminating access entirely. Number 8. Cash tips are now banned. If you want to thank a baggage handler, wheelchair assistant, or airport porter, you must now use a QR code, mobile app, or digital payment method. The government argues this move is to reduce theft, track taxable income, and prevent unrecorded cash exchanges. Supporters say it brings transparency to the tipping process and ensures workers are paid fairly and legally. However, this change has hit low-wage airport workers hard. Many rely on quick, cash tips to make ends meet, and now face delays or app fees that cut into their income. Critics say this policy hurts low-income staff and makes tipping less accessible, especially for seniors or international tourists unfamiliar with U.S. digital apps. What used to be a simple, kind gesture has become a bureaucratic hassle. Number 9. Poor credit score? You might be barred from flying. This new policy allows airlines, under government guidance, to access a traveler's financial history as part of their pre-flight screening process. If your credit score doesn't meet a certain threshold, your trip could be canceled, even if you've paid in full. The government argues that financial instability could be linked to higher risks of criminal activity, such as fraud or trafficking. Critics say it unfairly targets low-income individuals, punishing them for circumstances beyond their control, like medical debt, student loans, or job loss. They ask, treated like a security threat just because they're struggling financially? Supporters argue that it's a step towards safer skies, helping screen out fraudsters who use fake identities or financial manipulation to travel. But opponents say this is a slippery slope that targets vulnerable people without any clear safety benefits. Many worry this policy crosses a dangerous line, where economic hardship becomes a barrier to basic freedoms like air travel. Number 10. No more last-minute flight changes. Missed your flight or need to reschedule due to an emergency? Under the new 72-hour lock rule, you're out of luck. That means you can no longer change or cancel your flight within 72 hours of departure, no matter the reason. That's right. If you fall ill, have a family emergency, or even experience a death in the family, your ticket becomes non-refundable and non-changeable. Airlines defend the policy by saying it helps prevent last-minute no-shows and curbs overbooking problems. They argue it streamlines operations and ensures better seat management. But many passengers see it as cruel and unfair. Life is unpredictable, and this rule leaves no room for compassion. Critics argue it strips customers of basic flexibility and punishes people in crisis. Proponents believe stricter rules encourage better planning. Opponents argue it's another example of airlines putting profits ahead of people. For travelers with unexpected situations, the new policy can feel like a costly and cold-hearted penalty. Number 11. Duty-free purchases are banned from flights. Under the latest regulations, all liquid duty-free purchases, even factory-sealed, are banned from being carried onto flights. Officials claim the change is needed to stop smuggling attempts and eliminate potential security loopholes. But travelers are frustrated. Why punish passengers buying from vetted, secure retailers? Many say this hurts both convenience and trust. Frequent flyers feel like the crackdown makes air travel even more inconvenient. Supporters of the policy argue that it finally shuts down a long-standing loophole that could be exploited by bad actors. However, critics insist it's overkill and a major blow to a billion-dollar duty-free industry without improving safety meaningfully. For many travelers, this is a sign that the airport experience is losing its convenience, comfort, and its soul. Number 12. Airport naps now treated as a crime. Airport naps are officially banned. Under new security regulations, anyone found sleeping in terminals, especially overnight, can be removed by authorities. Officials argue it's a necessary step to prevent loitering and enhance passenger safety, but the backlash has been swift. Advocates for the homeless say it unfairly targets vulnerable populations, while stranded and budget-conscious travelers are calling it heartless. Imagine missing a connection or facing an overnight delay, only to be told you can't rest in a chair or quiet corner. Supporters believe it's necessary for safety. Opponents say it abandons the people who need rest the most. With no clear alternatives provided, this policy leaves many asking, where are stranded travelers supposed to sleep? Number 13. International visitors will face ideological screenings. A new rule now allows immigration officials to conduct ideological screenings on foreign visitors. Travelers might be asked about their political opinions, social media activity, or participation in protests, even if they were peaceful. Supporters of the policy argue it enhances national security by identifying individuals who might pose ideological threats or incite unrest. They believe it's a necessary measure in an age of digital radicalization and global instability. Critics, however, compare the screenings to Cold War-style witch hunts, saying it violates free expression and punishes people for their beliefs. They argue that peaceful activism should not be treated as a red flag. To make matters more restrictive, any form of protest at airports, no matter how small, is now banned. For many, this policy raises serious questions. Is safety worth sacrificing freedom of expression? Number 14. Protests in airport terminals are now banned. A new regulation has made all protests inside airport terminals illegal, even quiet, peaceful ones like silent vigils. This means travelers can no longer hold signs, chant, or gather in demonstration, no matter how respectful the protest may be. Civil rights attorneys are calling this an alarming violation of free speech and government overreach. Why would such a rule exist? Supporters argue that protests could interrupt flight schedules, create crowding, or pose security risks. They claim airports should remain neutral, apolitical spaces for transit. However, critics warn that banning all forms of expression goes too far. It strips away a basic constitutional right in a public space. Even worse, some worry this is just the start of broader crackdowns on dissent. And it gets more extreme. If you lose your temper and snap at a flight attendant, that could now get you permanently banned from flying. Number 15. Airlines can now ban passengers with no questions asked. A new policy gives airlines the full authority to blacklist passengers. They label as disruptive, with zero need for explanation and no appeal process. If you speak up about a delayed flight, dispute a seat change, or complain about service, you could be permanently banned from flying with that carrier. Supporters of the rule argue that it's about safety. They say giving airlines control over who boards helps prevent aggressive behavior and protects both staff and travelers. But critics say this rule opens the door for abuse. Without any way to challenge a decision, passengers are at the mercy of airline staff. Civil rights groups warn this could be used to silence unhappy customers or even discriminate unfairly. So, what do you think? Are these changes truly making air travel safer? Or are we watching airports slowly turn into surveillance-heavy police states? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's have an honest debate. If this alarms you as much as it does me, share this video right now. Every traveler deserves to know what's coming. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Because this battle isn't over, not even close. In the next video, we'll expose the real forces driving these changes. Stay sharp. Thanks for watching.